What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So take a listen. I want you to hear the words of Keith Thurman, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and close it out.
Keith, there's been a lot of movement at 147 since you were in the ring. So I want to take a little bit, couple minutes, some rapid fire. I'm going to throw out some names at you within the division, and then give me however long you want to go. So I'm going to go and start off with the young cats that are coming up. Virgil Ortiz, what's your assessment of him?
You know, I'm not watching these young cats. I'm just interested in seeing how much noise they make. Virgil Ortiz is a name that I've slowly been hearing more about, but I haven't watched the film yet. You know, that's the one thing about being a married man. That's the one thing at the end of the day is we're focused on our agenda, you know. So these fighters coming up, they still have a little bit of work to do. I had to do it when I was in their position. You got to have work to do to really force people that have solidified themselves in the welterweight division to acknowledge who you are, why you belong in the position and the rank that you have, and why you deserve these big fights. You know, so I know he's an exciting fighter from all that I've heard, Jim talk, things of that nature. He's exciting. He's explosive. I believe that he's a puncher, and he's highly entertaining for the fight fans that I've come across so far. They do like him. I can't give a personal assessment, but as he continues to grow in the sport, I'm pretty sure that eventually I'm going to have to do some fine tuning and really hone in and figure out who this young man is and why I keep hearing his name.
Okay, another guy that's been blossoming at welterweight again. I know you don't pay attention to the younger guys, but I'm sure you've heard the name. What about Ennis out of Philadelphia? Have you seen him fight? Do you have any opinion one way or the other?
I got criticism for my previous comments about Ennis, right?
Well, I'm just asking you to go ahead and
saying I don't know who he is, and then he said, "No, you know who I am," and it's like, sorry, bro, I just don't. You know. Well, now I do. Okay, now I do. I've watched Ennis, tremendous fighter. You know, I love what I see. I love his mobility, his explosiveness, and his power. Looks like a real threat up against anybody. I'm a power puncher. I know. When you got dynamite, you got dynamite. You know, and it can light people up in any given round. You know, his opposition is moving up little by little. I believe that he's going to continue to be on this road to victory, growing his name similar to Ortiz, and that's why we're talking about these young men today. What I like is his fight style overall. I haven't seen a lot. I've seen enough that I need to see that says this boy has something. The way he moves, the way he throws is that awkwardness. Reminds me a little bit of myself, but reminds me of a mixture of a Keith Thurman, a Floyd Mayweather, little Pernell Whitaker, because he likes to be crafty. He likes to be slick, yet he likes to be explosive. It's in the explosiveness that it reminds me of myself. It's in a little bit of the awkwardness that it reminds me of myself. But the way he turns with the shoulder roll, the way he shoulder roll and throws the uppercut reminds me a little bit more of Floyd and Pernell Whitaker. So, tremendous talent. I love what I'm seeing thus far. When he picks up the competition and he's really tested throughout the ranks, if he continues to dominate, something that I did coming up, something that Errol Spence did coming up, you know, you're going to feel like you're avoided. Stay on the path of victory, because eventually the creme of the creme rise to the top, and everybody will have to acknowledge who you are. So he seems like one of those next fighters that is a must-acknowledge kind of fighter. And, you know, I just look forward to seeing what happens. But my eyes are set on February 5th, and my eyes are set on retaining those belts back in my position. He is not a current belt holder, and so he's not on my hit list, as they would say. He can be on my get list in the future when I've accomplished what I want to accomplish and I re-solidify myself as the number one welterweight in the welterweight division.
So I agree with I understand the mindset and what Keith Thurman is saying, right? And I agree with a lot of his points. Pretty much, I saw this video the day that he did it, or the day that was dropped. And people always have mixed feelings about something. Now, let me say this about Keith Thurman. For the people saying that he's scared and he's ducking, I can say this. I don't know what's going on inside somebody's heart and in their head. I can only go by what they say and do, right? And mostly by what they do. But definitely, I'll hold you accountable for what you say and do. I'm not going to say Keith Thurman is scared because he has his focus on becoming world champion again. Because of his status at welterweight division and him being a former champion, he has to come back and earn his spot first off. So going forward, here's the thing, okay? If you look at who's out there for him to fight, if the champions, okay, like Ugas, for example, he's fighting Errol Spence. Now, Terrence Crawford is out there. After this fight that Keith has with Mario Barrios, okay, if he's successful in that fight, if Terrence Crawford decides, hey, I'm available, let's go, then that could be a fight that, happens and you'll have two of the elite, the two elite, known welterweights getting there and mix it up. At the same time, you heard him, what he said, that, he had to earn his spot. I remember him calling out Zab Judah, and he pretty much got ignored. I remember pretty much, and for him to say Errol Spence had to do the same thing. He was pretty much saying Spence, got to prove it first. You can't just walk in here like he hasn't been tested yet and all this. Okay, it's just funny because I remember him calling Spence a kid, and these dudes are like 2 or 3 years apart. Now, I don't even think it's like 2 or 3 years apart or something like that. But it's funny because here's the thing, right? Now, I'm not gonna say he's ducking. He has his sights set on what he has his sights set on. Okay, he's been champion before. So Jaron Ennis wants to be champion. Now, my whole thing about these guys. Now listen to this, right? And if you think about it, what would be the difference in him fighting Jaron Ennis, who's on the come up, versus him fighting someone like Mario Barrios? Mario Barrios is a comeback fight. A guy that just came from a smaller division and come up. You see what I'm saying? So this is a comeback fight. What Keith Thurman and any other fighter is not going to say is this reality. I'm coming back against Mario Barrios because he's not the best fighter in the world. He's a good fighter. He's a solid fighter. I just watched him get beat by a 135-pound fighter, right? Now he's coming up into my world. So he has some recognition and has some little buzz, but this is, for me, this is my comeback fight. I go in there with Jaron Ennis. I take a huge risk of getting defeated. How is that going to look for Keith Thurman? So now when you look at that, now let's compare. Let's see, because people shit on Errol Spence, but let's look at Errol Spence. He came back against Danny Garcia. He didn't take a tune-up fight. Now, I'm not knocking Keith Thurman for that. What I'm saying, though, is for the people that's saying, oh, but he been out. You know what I'm saying? He got to come back and get back in the swing. I get that. And I'm not saying he should come back and fight a tougher challenger because Errol Spence did. What I'm saying is people need to stop the criticism and trying to say things to shoot fighters down just to try to big up their fighter. They know the fighter that they like. Keith Thurman is trying to go forward. If he beat Jaron Ennis, which honestly, I think, like you heard what he said, Jaron Ennis is ready for like anybody. I've been saying the same thing. He's there. For all the people that want to try to, Oh, but see, he's susceptible to the right hand. Oh, he's susceptible. Listen, it's boxing, bro. It is boxing. Let's not forget, Manny Pacquiao was the last fight that Thurman had. He lost to a 40-year-old that he called a rabbit, right? And was confident that he could beat him. Jaron Ennis is no joke. And listen, he knows what's at stake. So no, I'm not saying, oh, he's scared of Jaron Ennis just because somebody called you out. My thing is, it was actually Virgil Ortiz called him out. Jaron Ennis basically, his eyes is more on, Spence and Crawford because they hold titles. Now, what did you just hear Keith Thurman say? He's not a title holder, right? So, bottom line, it's too much of a risk. So you go get yourself in that position if you can first. Why do you think Jaron Ennis mentions Crawford and Spence? Because they hold titles. See, now here's the problem for Keith Thurman. Let's say, for example, if Jaron Ennis actually became a mandatory for any one of those titles. Let's just say if it turns out that he has to fight Ennis before he gets to a Crawford or Spence. Okay, so be it. They're two fighters, right? I'm just saying, let's say if that happened. Keith Thurman would not look good trying to make an excuse to not fight him. They have nothing to do with each other at this point. They're in the same division. But Jaron Ennis is no walk in the park for nobody. Now, I don't care if you think Spence will win. If you think Crawford will win, that's fine. That's not what I'm focused on. Everybody thinks somebody will beat somebody. We're talking about right now, you look at like who's out there, who's up and coming, and who's making noise now. Look, the same way the Keith Thurman is saying he had to do this and Spence had to do that. Yeah, we know that Spence had to do it. And you were one of the fighters, you was the main fighter that wouldn't fight him at that point. So, and still it hasn't happened. So for him to come back to try to get in that position to get his titles back, there's no need for him, in all honesty, to come back and now I'm not going to say he shouldn't fight a tougher fighter, and I'm not going to say he should. He chose who he chose to fight. Because like I said, the outcome you have to deal with, whether it works in your favor or not. But what I am saying is the same way a fighter says, whether it's Keith Thurman or anybody, or this kid is on the come up, and notice, yeah, this boy is good. Y'all about 5-6 years apart, man. So when he was a boy, you was a boy too. This is a grown-ass 26, 27-year-old grown man. But here's the deal. Any fighter could easily say, listen, I know what it's like. I was in your position, but I know you ready. So we going to get this going. They could easily say that. Why don't they say that? Because it's too much of a risk. And if the money is not what it should be, again, high risk, low reward. You understand what I'm saying? And if you get beat, they know Jaron Ennis is out there. Believe me, they know who the fuck he is, and they know that, this dude is ready. I don't care what you as a fan think. I don't care how cocky the fighters try to act in front of a camera. Them fighters know. They know. And this is my point. When you've been in somebody's shoes, it could be easier for you to say, you know what, nah, I know what it feel like, but listen, I'm going to give you a shot, right? No. Like I said, 1 minute, they on somebody's door trying to get in. Once they get in that door and they become, they get in that position that they've been chasing for so long, no, they're not quick to let these guys walk in and get a shot. And this is exactly why I say, when you guys are behind a fighter, talk about my guy this, my guy that, and you making excuses, at some point, they're going to be the ones turning their back and ignoring fighters the same way they did, that people did it to them. And it's no different with people taking bigger money fights than smaller money fights. This guy is more respected than that guy, even though that's a bigger money fight. They don't care about what you guys think, what I think the next person think. I wouldn't give a shit either, for the simple fact that I know I'm not afraid of no goddamn body. But if I'm in a position where they like, yo, Aries, man, this is 50 million. That's 10 million. You think I give a fuck about any of you? Oh man, Aries ducked. Oh, he ducked. He took the fight for the money. Yeah, asshole. I took the fight for the fucking money. That's what I do for a living. That doesn't mean I'm not going to come back and whoop that ass, but I'm going to secure that 50 million first. Y'all can all kiss my ass if you think I'm a worry about you saying, oh, he cherry picked. No, I ain't cherry pick shit, dumbass. It's a business decision. Not one of you, like I always say, it's always easy to say what you would do when you're not in that position. I've seen so many people and heard so many people say so much things, and then if it was me, I this and that, and different elements in life. And then when they in that position, they do something completely different from the way what they thought they'd do. So it's easy to talk that. So no, I'm not looking at Keith Thurman like, oh, he's scared, he's running. No, he has his eyes set on what he has his eyes set on. Okay, but that doesn't mean that Jaron, Ennis, or Virgil Ortiz have to sit back and cooperate with him. You understand what I'm saying? So Virgil Ortiz called him out after his last fight. You know, he said he wants Keith Thurman. And you know, like I said, fans are going to, oh, he ain't ready. Yeah, okay, well, we don't need you to tell us what the fuck you think about somebody being ready. We don't care about that. The point is he wants it. He's ready. You know, and that's the whole thing what I'm saying. It's a difference. And let me explain. Right now, you know, Ortiz and Ennis is looking real promising. And for me, Ennis more than all of them. Conor Benn is there, but Conor Benn is a fighter that people still have doubts about. That does not mean he shouldn't fight. The guys he want to fight and they're not securing the fights for him. The fighters are not the contractors, okay? Their management team, their promoters, they have people that's doing that for them. And when guys don't want to fight you, I mean, you got to fight who's out there. But let's, for example, if you look at the three of them, okay, all three of them have improved and just get better and better. And like I said, Jaron Ennis to me is all around the more polished out of all three of them. But you take a guy like Rolly Romero, who basically is just a one-dimensional guy. See, Conor has power, and Conor showed that he has patience now. He's learned, he's getting better. He looked better in the last fight he had. And people, oh yeah, but it was against what's his name? I forget the guy name. Chris Algieri. But it's like, nah, stop. You guys are praising Chris Algieri until he got knocked out. And I told you guys, as soon as Conor Benn connect with him, it's going to be Canelo versus Amir Khan. As soon as he's out, he's going to knock him out. Oh, man, Algieri is this. Algieri's going to come to box and do this and this. And Algieri has nothing to keep Conor Benn off him, man. He did what he was supposed to do, got him out of there. Rolly Romero, on the other hand, is a guy who's just all power. That's all he ever brags and talks about is how he's so strong and he's bigger. He hits way harder. That's all he ever even talks about. You never hear him talk about his technical skills because he's not a technical fighter. He basically looks lost in the ring. Other than all he knows how to do is try to knock you out. So for people, anybody looking at him feel like he's not ready for these top guys because all he has is a puncher's chance. He hasn't developed yet. That's a difference. That's the difference. That is the difference. Watching fighters develop and seeing that, yeah, okay, they become world-class fighters now. These guys are in that position, like they're ready. You know, nobody looks at Rolly Romero like that. The most that people can say is he talk a lot of shit. And he can punch. As far as him being able to go in there and work things out, mentally show a high boxing IQ, sharp in the ring. He's never showed any of us that. He just shows he's a puncher. So I like, you know, the fact that Keith Thurman was just honest and broke down how he felt and what he saw. You know, like I said, because Keith Thurman was a former champion, I say this for any guy. I don't think that you should be able to come back and just leapfrog over guys just for namesake. But he's coming back. He's having his fight with Mario Barrios. Now, my thing is, if you come back and the champion is willing to fight you, cool. I'm not bitching about it. But for the guys that's been fighting their asses off while you in your absence, of course, they're going to feel some kind of way if they can't secure the fight. And the way these guys grow, you just keep fighting, you keep winning. People talk about, oh, the O is not important, but as soon as the guy loses, everybody want to write them off anyway, right? So Keith Thurman had his first loss against Pacquiao. And I think that for him, honestly, what I would like to see, because like I said, Ugas and Spencer occupied. So I don't know what Terrence Crawford got going on. You know, he just beat Sean Porter not too long ago. If Keith Thurman gets past Barrios and let's say that Crawford does everything lined up, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I definitely wouldn't mind seeing that fight. And pretty much the winner of that fight, there's no excuse or reason for that person in Spence to not fight. Therefore, you will have an undisputed champion at welterweight. Now, somebody is going to be forced to fight a guy like Jaron Ennis or Virgil Ortiz, depending on how things go. And see, if they're going to do title eliminators or however, whatever, that's all good. But at the end of the day, these vets are going to wind up having to fight against these guys. And when it does happen, these guys are ready. The worst thing for the older fighters is if you stick around too long and then you get in there and all of a sudden you're not the same fighter you used to be. Well, that's not going to be an excuse for me. We all know that it can happen, but my whole thing is, like I said, you can be past your prime and win, and everybody praise you. But then when you lose, that's when they want to pull up your past your prime. And I just think that Keith Thurman, Keith Thurman is a good talker. See, he knows how to say things in a way where even if he's full of shit about something, people might not catch it. I don't think he's full of shit in this interview, But what I'm saying is, I actually, like I said, I saw a lot of comments and just heard people saying certain things. But, man, listen, guys like Jaron Ennis, they got their confidence. They feel like they're ready. That's what we need in boxing, man. We need some fresh blood, man, that's ready to get in here and fight and want to fight the best. Now the same way Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz is let me in. Now when they get up there and get to that point, if they get to that point where they're the guy now, they have the belts, they're the champions. Somebody's always going to be knocking on your door. And then like I said, if you have a fighter that gets to the point where they're like, nah, I'm fighting everybody. Everybody. I want everybody. And this is why, to me, I don't see why no champion, any division don't want to unify and become that guy. Because once you clean your division out, you are that guy. Nobody can dispute that. I don't care what they say. You are that guy. Now, do you continue to just fight? You're going to have to fight mandatories and do all of that and stay at that division in your career that way? Do you go up, try to do it in a different division? However, everything, and always understand, everything does not happen for you the way you plan it. Because people are not just going to cooperate and say, oh, I see what you're trying to do. I'm going to step back and let you do that. No, they all want the same things. They want to be that guy. But at the same time, for me, it's refreshing to see guys that want to fight the best, because to me, it's just like a letdown when these guys get to the point where they want to fight the best, they get to that position, and then all of a sudden, they just fighting a bunch of guys just to make their money. But they're not out there really mixing up with the very best guys. You know what I'm saying? And we've seen a pattern of that. But Keith Thurman, in my opinion, he's contributed a lot to the sport, and I don't feel like I said, if he gets past Barrios and then Crawford decides, hey, let's get it, or even depending on, like I said, who fights, who's more active, the time in between to put the next fight together. And realistically, it looked more like it would be Terrence Crawford and not Errol Spence. Because like I said, he has his hands full with Ugas already. He has a date with that already. So anyway, I just thought that was a cool interview with Keith Thurman. And to be honest with you, this is what more people need to do, is be able to explain themselves when they say things and make their point. You don't have to disrespect the person, talk a bunch of nonsense. I like how he handled that interview. That's the reason why I did the video on it. Because usually you get people that sit there and, oh man, he don't want it, oh, this and this and this and that. Like he's saying. Now I'm acknowledging, like I seen, what you can do. I seen enough to know that he's a problem for anybody, So at the end of the day, it's more respectable and more of a grown-up thing to do to just say, look, he's not a belt holder. And right now I'm trying to get myself in a position where I can get these belts back. So I'm trying to fight nothing but champions. So like I said, Mario Barrios is his comeback fight. And I mean, if he stepped up and decided that Virgil Ortiz or Jaron Ennis is going to be his comeback fight, hey, kudos to him. But he knows that that's a huge risk. He's not stupid, man. All of these fighters know that they take the risk of losing when they fight another guy, especially an elite fighter. You know, and you can have that one fighter that's your banana peel, and you just, you know what I mean? You just got in there and it just didn't go your way. So I'm not going to knock Keith Thurman for what he's doing and what he said. You know, and I know a lot of, like he said, because he caught a lot of flack because of that comment about him saying he didn't know who Jaron Ennis was. People feel like he was trying to be disrespectful. So that's where that really came from. But we'll see how things go. One fight at a time. He didn't even fight Mario Barrios yet, so I think it's definitely too premature to be talking about him versus anybody else, you know, other than Mario Barrios. Now, but afterwards, like I said, if he gets past him, you know, yeah, he won a belt holder. Let's see Keith Thurman versus Terence Crawford finally. Let's finally get that. So, never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.